What decision that I made continues to haunt me. It's the time I didn't pick up my wife's call because I was in a meeting at work. She was already struggling with her mental well-being when, just a couple of weeks before, our 15-year-old daughter made the choice to secretly leave the house. It happened in the dead of night, and she was picked up by her 21-year-old boyfriend, someone we had never even heard of before that point. The next morning, we were jolted awake at 6 a.m. by the police, who told us our precious Christine had been found in the lake. My wife and I immediately began to feel like we were losing control, and now I realize it wasn't the right thing to do, but we started processing our loss in different ways. I decided to bury myself so deeply in my job that I barely had a moment to even consider my daughter. However, since my wife was a stay-at-home mom, she didn't have the same option. She started using drugs as a way to deal with the situation. She started taking twice, and even 3 times, the amount of medication she was prescribed. I recall arriving home at 2 a.m. after working for 16 hours straight, and seeing her holding the teddy bear our daughter had as a kid, just crying uncontrollably. I should have stopped everything I was doing right then, but I was so heavily medicated myself that I wasn't able to think straight. And then the day that changed everything arrived. I hadn't even mentioned to the people I worked with what had happened in my personal life, and I was in the middle of a meeting when I got a phone call from my wife. Something inside me wanted me to answer, but just as I started to grab my phone, my manager called on me to speak. "Are you really gonna answer that? I'm sure your wife can wait," he said. Despite my instincts telling me otherwise, I actually heeded his advice. An hour later, having left the workplace, I glanced at my cell and noticed a message waiting for me. It had come from my spouse. Upon hearing it, I felt an immediate and sickening dread. I lost all color in my face and bolted from the building, jumped into my vehicle, and began speeding toward my house at an insane rate. I managed to arrive at my residence with unprecedented swiftness. Tears were already streaming down my face as I charged into the dwelling and began shouting out her name. I recall beseeching the Almighty that this wasn't the end, but then I violently thrust open the portal to my child's room, and that's when I laid eyes on her. My spouse was there, suspended by a length of cord, secured to a metallic fastener connected to the doorframe. It's impossible to articulate the sensation of discovering the person you cherish most deceased, and realizing that a single altered action would give you the chance to embrace her once more.